Stephanie of Stephanie Stitches here. Welcome to my channel where together we sew. If you're brand new to my channel, thank you so much for coming by. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell so you'll know when I go live or post new videos. And if you're returning, you've been here a whole bunch, which I know a lot of you have, thank you so much. You know, all know how much I appreciate you and that you keep coming back. So today I'm going to make a different version of the mini charm bag that I did a while ago on a live with, I think it was with Yvette. I've been asked to remake the video as like a video tutorial, but I didn't really want to make like another mini charm bag because I've made a few of them lately, or since I made that video. I made the one you guys saw. In the video I made the one that I had pre-made to show you what we were going to make for the video. I've made a few since then. So point is, I didn't want to make another mini charm bag, but I'm going to modify it just a little bit, and it will be the same process as that bag. Everything, the fabric requirements and all the supplies you need will be the same. The only difference is, instead of using mini charms, is I'm going to use strips. So if you recall, the mini charms, if you are using a mini charm, you can use one mini charm pack, which mini charms, if you don't know, are 2.5-inch squares. So if you have 2.5-inch squares sitting around, you could do it with that. You need 40 of those because you're going to sew 5 across and 8 rows down. So instead of doing that, which makes it 10.5 by 16.5, if my math is correct. So instead of doing that, I actually cut 8 strips from like leftover jelly rolls that I had, and these are my colors. So I cut these 10.5 inches wide, and I'm going to sew 8 of them together. So I'm going to basically have the same size outer piece. I'm just going to do it with strips instead of little squares. So I'm excited to see what this bag is going to turn out and look like doing it with strips and kind of getting a rainbowy effect instead of a bunch of little mini squares. So let's go ahead and get started. You'll need either your mini charm pack or strips like I'm doing. And like I said, there's 8 of these, 5.5 or 10.5 inches long. And then you'll need a zipper that is 11 inches or longer. And then you'll need a piece of flex foam or soft and stable, whatever product you prefer, to go in the inside, something that's got a lot of stability to hold those bags upright if you want your bag to stand up. And then you'll need at least 12 by 18. This is 12 by 18, so you'll need at least a 12 by 18 piece of fabric for lining, like a fat quarter if you've got an extra fat quarter just laying around, or you can cut a 12 by 18 piece. I've actually got that over there. I need to go get it off my ironing board, so I'm gonna do that and be right back with you guys and show you what I'm doing. Okay, so here we are, and I got my backing fabric off my ironing board, and I've got that layered with the stabilizer threads on there. And as you can see, I already sewed my strips together just to make this process go a little bit faster. So I have 8 strips sewn together, and like I said, they're 10.5 inches wide. So if you wanted to do the charm pack or the mini charm pack style, you would just sew 5 mini charms and 8 rows, and you'll get the same size piece. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my temporary adhesive spray, whether you use 505 or whatever you use, or if you don't want to, I just like to use a little bit of spray to hold everything together while I quilt this. That's what I'm going to do now. Oh, and the other thing I forgot to say too is if you use a fat quarter, you need 2 pieces that are 2.5 by 3 inches to make the tabs that are going to go on the outside of the bag, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. They're going to end up looking like this. So you'll need 2 of those. So if you use a fat quarter, you can get those 2 pieces out of your fat quarter because you don't need a whole fat quarter for this bag. But if not, just cut 2 coordinating pieces, fabrics that kind of match, and you'll be good to go. So I'm going to spray this on here. I'm going to spray the stabilizer, not the fabric, although you can spray the fabric, but I don't know why, I just like to do it that way better. like I said, this is a temporary adhesive. You can actually reposition this. It doesn't leave any like long-lasting residue or marks on the fabric. So that's why I like this. This is from Spray and Bond. It's called Pattern and Stencil Adhesive, and it's repositional. But I also like 505. That's another one of my go-tos. When I used to quilt, quilt mainly on the domestic, I used 505 a lot. I don't do that as much now, but I use this spray a lot if you FPP and there's a big area where you need your fabric to be held down. I'll use this spray for that. It's also perfect for that. So that's stuck to that side, so I'm going to flip that over and then spray the back of this and then stick on my backing fabric, or my inside fabric. This is the inside of your bag. I forgotten I had this piece of fabric that I have over here for the inside of my bag. And when I picked out the colors of my strips, I went digging through my stash to see what I might have, that quarter-wise, to use with this. And I found this piece of fabric and I was like, oh, this is perfect. These are my colors, and it goes really well with the colors that I picked out for the front of the bag. So I was super excited to find this piece. It's fun sometimes, like shopping your stash, if you don't remember what's in there. You find fun things like this. It's almost so pretty I should have it on the outside, but that'll be a fun pop when I open the bag on the inside. It's got all these beautiful teals and blues and fades into like a lilac purple. I just love it. Okay. So everything is stuck together. So I'm going to take this to my sewing machine right here and go ahead and just do some basic quilting. I will probably just stitch in the ditch, or maybe even on the right and left, like parts of the fabric. Actually, I think I might just stitch in the ditch because this fabric is so pretty. I like hate to put any marks on it. So I might just stitch in the ditch with this. I don't know. We'll see. I might change my mind as I go, but I will probably speed up this part of the video so you're not sitting here just watching me quilt for a while. So when I do quilt on my domestic, though, I will turn my stitch length up to between a 3.5. I get asked that question all the time, so I thought I would tell you guys now. So I'm going to go ahead and quilt this, and then I'll meet you back here after we quilt this for the rest of the tutorial. So all done with the quilting, and I love how it like puffed up because I just quilted in between each strip, so like the center of these are all nice and puffy now. That's really cool. So I'm just gonna trim this all around the edges, trim that off. So I'm gonna grab my rotary cutter and a ruler. Actually, got this big long ruler. I'm gonna turn my mat here for a second so I can get it all on the mat. Okay. And I'm going to grab my big old ruler over here and trim all this down. So I'm going to start by lining it up on one of the seams and just use that as my guide to trim. I want the edges nice and straight, so I'm going to be trimming off a little bit here, but that's okay because I'd rather have the edges nice and straight. Okay, that's one side. this up over here since we've already trimmed that side. And trim off this side. Okay. And then I'm just going to trim the top and the bottom. And there we go. Okay, so that's all set. Nice and rectangular. I'm loving the way it's looking so far. Here's what I look like. Here's the back. So pretty. Okay, so the next thing you're going to want to do is put that aside just for a second. I'm going to make these little tabs really quick, or make the second one. So I've already made the first ones just so I could show you kind of what we're aiming for. We're going to make this sort of like you make bias tape. So you can either use your iron to do this or just finger press it. I'm going to finger press it because I think it comes out okay that way. So I'm just going to fold that in half, finger press it, use my fingernail to kind of push it down, and then open it back up and then press or fold one side in towards that line that you just made with your fingernail, and do it again, and then fold this one in, finger press it with your fingernail. Then we're going to fold that in on itself. So all your seams are inside. You're not going to have any raw edges on the outside. Okay? And then you're going to take this over to your sewing machine and top stitch it down each side, kind of like this one. You can see that. There's stitching on either side. It's hard to see in the camera, but that's what we're going to do. And I got to remember to put my stitch length back because it was still up high from when I just quilted that. So I'm going to do the side that needs to be stitched shut first and then flip it around and do the other side. There we go. Easy breezy. And I'm going to cut off the little thread. Now these raw edges, the top and the bottom, you don't need to sew those shut because those are going to be sewn inside the bag. So there we go. We've got our two little tabs for the outside of the bag, and those came from this fabric that I have on the back. So they're not exactly the same color, but that's okay because it's like a little ombre effect. All right, now I'm going to take this piece and we need to cut a 1 1/4 inch square out of each corner so we can turn this into a boxed bag. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I need to grab a pen or some kind of marking tool. I'm actually going to grab, I have a pencil right here, so I'm going to grab my pencil. This is going to get cut away, so you're not going to see it. I find these small cutouts easier to do with scissors than a rotary cutter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find 1 1/4 inch on my ruler, and I'm going to mark it with my pencil. I'm going to do that to all 4 sides, and then we'll cut them out with the scissors. So get a really sharp pair of scissors to do this part. If you have a 28mm rotary cutter, that might work. The only problem when you rotary cut these is when you get to the corner over here, you can sometimes cut too far into your bag fabric. So again, this is 1 1/4 inch. And I will put the requirements to make this bag in the description box below this video, but I'm not going to repeat all these measurements, so if you need them, you'll just have to rewatch the video. Okay, so that's drawn. So I have a super sharp pair of scissors right here, and I'm just gonna cut right on that line I made. I kind of do this part slowly so I don't cut too far into the bag. There we go. That came right on out. I'm going to keep doing that for all 4 sides. This is kind of fun because usually I'm just quilting, piecing, sewing that way. This is more crafty. It seems more crafty, so kind of fun to switch gears for a little bit. And these bags are really quick and fun and easy to make. So they're a great gift, or if you need a bag for notions or makeup or something to travel with. I'm making this one actually to travel with all my cords and things. I was thinking about purchasing a bag to put chargers and things like that in, but I was like, why purchase one? I can make one. So the next thing we're gonna do is install the zipper. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. I tried to film this first thing in the morning before the kiddos got up, and they got up in the middle of making it, which is fine. They're kids. So I had to go get them breakfast, and hopefully I'll be able to get through this video before they need mommy again, and if not, I'll stop and I'll come back and we'll finish. Anyway, so I've got some wonder clips here, and what I'm going to do is take my zipper, this is the top, I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to put this tape and line it up against the top of the bag right here. Now, if you have a zipper foot on your machine, this would be a good time to pull that out and use it. You don't have to have one. I don't have one on this big machine, and I've done zippers no problem, just fine. I do have one on my smaller machine, and it does come in handy because that machine can't get through this many layers with the regular foot, so the zipper foot comes in handy. But this machine has no problem getting through all this. So, as you can see, I clipped it all the way down. It's more just to kind of hold it in place because zippers do like to move a little bit. Make sure that your zipper is all the way off one edge or the other, whichever way you're putting it, and your zipper stop is quite a bit over this way. You don't want to have it closer and then cut it off and things like that. So yeah, let's go ahead and get this on here. Whoops. Now I am going to try to, I'm going to back stitch here, but I am going to also try to sew as close to the zipper as I can. A zipper foot does help you get closer to the zipper, but this turns out just fine as well. I've done hundreds of zippers this way, so you definitely don't need a zipper foot. Okay, so that's the first side of the zipper. Now I'm going to flip this over and sort of press it with my fingers to make the zipper go where I want it. And then we're going to top stitch on this side just to hold that zipper in place. And it would be helpful if you can iron that. My little iron is not working right, and I've had it for a really long time, so I'm kind of sad about that. And my big iron is off on the side, so I'm just gonna do the best to press it with my fingers, and we'll try and see. Hopefully it'll come out good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew right on the edge of where the fabric meets the zipper, but on the fabric. We're just trying to hold that zipper in place, keep it from flapping around. So far it feels like it's behaving pretty good underneath there without ironing, so that's good. Okay, So I just did a little top stitch along there. Holds the zipper down a little bit. Now we need to do this side. So I'm going to bring this up, and I'm going to make sure that my pieces all line up before I clip this in place and start sewing it. So I want my sides to line up and everything. So I'm going to put a big clip down here to hold the sides together, and then use some of these smaller clips to hold it up here. I just don't want this guy to move because I want the sides to match up. Let me get some more clips. Again, I'm going to clip down the side a little bit. Big clip. I just want to make sure that my sides don't shift, and then when I put the zipper, you got a crooked bag. So that's all I'm doing. Okay, so now we're going to sew the zipper onto this other side. So I'm going to do the same process I just did. I'm going to sew along here, and then we're going to open the bag up and turn it around and top stitch. I'm going to take all these clips off. Keep those clips out, they're going to come in handy in just a minute. I'm going to stick my finger in here, or stick my arm in here, and unzip this. So I can turn it out so we can top stitch this other side. Starting to look like a bag. So I'm going to do the same thing I did before and stitch it right where the fabric and the zipper come together. Just right on the very edge. Not even a 1/4 inch or 1/8 of an inch, it's like right on the edge, but on the fabric. Okay, stitched along the edge, that looks good. Now I'm going to turn the bag back. I'm not going to zip it all the way shut, just a little bit, just to keep it in place. I'm going to turn it back, and then I'm going to clip the sides together like we did before, matching everything along the way. Just want everything to line up. And clip it down the sides until you get to about the bottom, because we're going to cut squares just like we did for the top pieces to box this bag. So that's why we want our sides to line up before we cut anything. Okay, now I'm going to grab my pencil and my ruler. And again, we're going to do 1 1/4 inch squares down here. So I'm going to do the same process I did before. Mark them with my pencil and then cut them with the scissors. Okay. So I'm going to bring these clips even a little bit closer just to make sure everything's nice together. There we go, before I trim. I hate to cut that because you can't go back. Alright, here we go. A little more tricky than the other ones because you're going through the front and the back, so 2 layers instead of just, and you can mark them on the front and the back if you want and try to do them separately. I just find this is just good enough. It's just a little more difficult to cut it because it's obviously stronger, or thicker I should say. And there we go. Okay, so now you have a bag that looks something like this. You've got cutouts in the bottom, for us to box it, cutouts in the top. Alright, now I'm going to remove these clips, or at least, yeah, remove these clips. Actually, those ones can stay on the top for a minute. Put these in here. So if you don't like open seams, you can use a serger if you have a serger, or a zigzag stitch. I do not have a serger and this machine does not have a zigzag, so I'm just going to straight stitch it and that will be just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and go down each side now and sew these sides together. And I'm going to do about a 1/4 inch here. Definitely back stitch if you're just doing a straight stitch like I am. Okay, that side. Make sure these are all lined up. There we go. Alright, I'm just going to remove that. Now we can box the bottom. I'm going to unzip this top first. A little bit more. Alright, so to box, we're going to push these sides together right here, like a fish mouth, and make them come together in the center, and then sew about a 1/4 inch across, and you definitely want to backstitch here as well. Maybe even more than once, just so keep those seams nice together. Okay, so that's one side. It's starting to look like a bag that's going to stand up. Do the same thing on the other side. Make that fish mouth come together. And so a 1/4 inch. the thread. Anybody else have a needle threader on their machine and find it easier just to thread the needle? I have a needle threader and I feel like it doesn't work super good, so it's just easier for me just to reach there and thread the needle myself. Okay, back stitch. All right, now, if I did this right, if I turn this bag, this should stand up, even though we're not finished yet. Looks good there. Looks good there. Okay, we've got the makings of a bag. Now we just have to do the other pieces. Alright, so save the best for last. This is the trickiest part. Not hard, just trickier. So, because this part we're going to put in these little tabs. So, let me think about this for a second and make sure I do this right, because I've done it wrong before. Yes, we want that sticking out. Okay, so you're going to fold your tab in half, and you could finger press that if you want. It'll help keep it in half. And then we're going to do the same thing we did before and make a fish mouth. And don't cut your zippers until after we sew this. So we're going to make this fish mouth, and we're going to stick the tab with the raw sides out or towards the inner lining. I'm going to set it right in the middle. Because then if I do this correctly, oh, and that's the other thing, make sure your zipper's not in the way. I need to move my zipper a little bit. But don't shut your bag completely. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that tab is right in the middle. So we're going to sew through and do a 1/4 inch. We're going to go over the tab, over the zipper, and then we'll trim all that excess stuff away after we've got this bag sewn together, or after we've got this part sewn together. Again, back stitch. And when I go over the zipper and the tab in the center, because the tabs will take a little bit of abuse when you pull on them, I like to back stitch over that part too. And before I do the other side, I like to just double check, because I'm a little bit OCD, to make sure I did that correctly. And here you can see that I've got a tab, it's on the correct side of the fabric, and it looks pretty good. So now that I confirmed that that's good, I'm going to trim off all this excess stuff. So I'm just going to cut that zipper right off, the end of the tab right off, clean it up a little bit. So that's done. Alright, now we have one more side to do. This side is a little trickier because we have to keep this zipper together, which you can put some stitches in between if you want to. Actually, I'll just go ahead and do that so you can see what I'm talking about. To hold the zipper together, because it's not zipped, and we don't want it to be zipped because we want to be able to get back in our bag. Because if we close this hole and the zipper's open, we won't be able to get back in the bag. So just to help you kind of hold it, you can just stick a stitch across your zipper to hold the zipper together. Since there is a lot of stuff to hold in this step with the tab and all that, so it helps just a little bit. So, oh, where'd my other tab go? I think I lost it. Okay, hang on, I gotta find the other tab. Okay, tab found. Y'all know what I did, right? When I put the zipper and the trash from the other side that I cut into the can, I grabbed the tab too. That's typical me. Alright, so same thing that we did with all the other sides. We're going to make the fish mouth come together. And we're going to put that tab in the center. Yep. Like I said, this side's a little bit more difficult because you have the zipper and the zipper's separated. So it's a little bit harder, trickier, but you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. No worries. So again, we've got the zipper sticking out, the tab sticking out, and we're going to sew 1/4 inch across all of this mess and make it look pretty. Just don't throw your tab in the trash like I did. Alright, I think that worked good. Now, yep, everything looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and trim all this excess off. Just so it's not in your bag and you don't have all this junk sticking off over here. All this bulk. I shouldn't say junk, just bulk. Okay, now we should be able to turn the bag and have a functional bag. So whether you're doing a mini charm or you're doing strips like I did, this bag will sew together the same exact way. Or if you just want like one color on the outside and one color on the inside, you could just use 2 pieces of fabric that are, 10.5 by 16.5. So that would work too. That could actually be really, really cute. So here's the bag all finished. I'm just going to trim the thread because if I don't, it will drive me crazy. And zip it shut. Oh, just poke out that edge a little bit more. There we go. And there you go. You have a cute little bag. I love this one. I like how it came out. I used a gray zipper. Gray complemented the teals and lilac, I think, pretty well. And I used dove gray thread. So, to kind of go with everything. And I really, really like it. I'm super excited for this. What I'm loving the best is look at that side. My seams all lined up really nicely, and that's partly because I clipped everything together. So if you're a little OCD like me, don't forget to clip those together before you sew them because that makes it turn out perfect. Okay, thank you so much for joining me today to make another cute little bag. I hope you all enjoyed making this with strips instead of mini charms. If you did, if you made it with mini charms, that's great too. But I thought it'd be fun to do a little alternative, to the mini charm bag. In case you don't have mini charms, you don't like mini charms, there's people out there that don't. But most people have 2.5 inch strips or they can make them from their stash. So I thought this was really cute and I just love the colors. You guys know these are my colors. So thank you all for watching. I will put a link to the original video if you want to see it made with mini charms in the description box below, and I will also put the fabric requirements. But I don't have the pattern, it's not mine, so I can't give it out. So if you want to make this, you'll have to watch the video and sew along with me. So thanks guys so much for stopping by. I'll see you in a little bit, and hope you have a beautiful week. Bye!